Good afternoon to our revered guest speaker, Dr. Upendra, faculty members from various colleges, and my fellow colleagues. I welcome you all to the concluding day of the AICT sponsored 2-week online faculty development program on exploration of nascent pedagogical tools for updating teachers of pharmacy education. Before beginning, I would like to share today's schedule with everyone. Today we will be having our technical session by Dr. Upendra on paradigm shift in pharma education need of the hour, followed by an online evaluation test between 2 to 3. And then the valedictory will be starting at 3 p.m. today, and it will be addressed by our chairperson, Dr. B. Suresh, who is the president in the Pharmacy Council of India and pro chancellor, JSS Academy of Higher Education, Mysore. Let's begin the day and let's invite Dr. Upendra Nagayach, who's the research coordinator in Amity Institute of Pharmacy, Amity. Sir will be speaking on paradigm shift in pharma education, need of the hour. Sir is presently working as the research coordinator in Amity Institute. Her key focus of Dr. Nagayach's research is the application of nanotechnology for drug delivery systems. He is currently applying these technologies to the enhancement of treatment options for diabetes mellitus, atopic dermatitis, and Parkinson's therapy. Sir has filed 13 Indian patents, published more than 70 high quality papers in international and national journals of repute, and has been invited as a speaker in various conferences. He is a recipient of the 100 Most Impactful Healthcare Leaders given by World Health Congress, Young Scientist Award given by Dhule Charitable Society, Young Research Pharmacist Award, Distinguished Alumni Award by Acharya Alumni Association of Pharmacy, Bangalore, and many, many more. He is also serving as Secretary, Society of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, and as the editor, Journal of Advanced Pharmaceutical Technology and Research. So we welcome you, sir, and over to you now.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Shilpa, for the elaborative introduction. So I'll just share my screen first of all. Now it's fine. It's on
Yes, sir.
presentation mode,
Yes,
right?
sir. We can see it. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So at the outset, I would like to extend my heartiest thanks to the management for giving me an opportunity to speak with the faculty members of different institution and university across the India. And then Dr. Chitra for continuous follow-up over the timing and everything for make it convenient to be to have me in a part and parcel of this event. So I'll be talking about some of the recent advancement and what exactly the need of the hour. So how the paradigm has been shift in the pharma education at large. Either we are talking about the Indian perspective or the global perspective. So I understood that we all are academician researcher working in one or the other university institution for the betterment of the pharma education and research at large. So this would not be sort of a lecture sort of thing because we all are colleagues. So I don't want to portray it as a lecture. Rather, it would be a discussion that what is the need of the hour. And we all are considering this fact that yes, we are the pillar for pharmaceutical education in India. And we have a huge responsibility. Responsibility just not to cater the students, the institution where we have been working, to grow ourselves in terms of getting the advancement for the research and academic endeavors. And then we all witnessed the scenario and pandemic situation of COVID-19, and it has shown a path that yes, there are different other verticals. By virtue of that, we will be able to make and disseminate the education, research, and the knowledge that we do have. And then when everything has been shut down, the world is looking for the pharmaceutical industry to develop the vaccine. So we have to cater these points that yes, we are in one of the novel profession that is catering basically the need of the global perspective. It's not just India or something else. We are talking about the global perspective. But yes, once we are talking about in such a positive and optimistic phase, we have to understand what is our due responsibilities, how we are going to cater those responsibilities, how we are going to bridge a gap between academia and industry, and then giving a path to our young buddies to grow, to flourish in their career. So I'll start with, yeah. So, as we all are aware that yes, the pharmacy, the inception of pharmaceutical sciences, pharma education in India was long back in 1932. It has been pioneered and started from Banaras Hindu University, and we consider Professor M.L. Sharoff as the father of pharmacy in India. So that was the time when the pharmacy has been started. And yes, as of now, if we talk about, we are in 2021, and more or less we have achieved a lot in terms of advancement of pharmaceutical education, newer concept, development, techniques, technologies in the past 88 years. That was a glorious history that we do have. And we understood this fact. But at the same time, we have to understand that what we have discussed, developed in 1932, and then in the subsequent years, now the time has come that we have to think beyond, and we have to create a synergy for the next gen, or rather we can say we have to create a next gen wave, either in terms of building the institution for imparting the highest level of the education and research excellences to achieve the excellence in the field of education, research, and that too with the capability building for the academic and the research institution. And nowadays, if we talk about, we are at a alarming situation globally in terms of understanding the specialization and the ease of the globalization of pharmaceutical education. And then, if we talk about the current scenario, definitely somehow we understood that the current situation, the pharma education is somewhat struggling from some of the flaws or some of the incidences that should not happen in any of the field. So once we are talking about undesirable activities or undesirable issues, so that would not confine just for pharmaceutical sciences. It is way beyond with the pharma, education, science and technology at large. So we have to understand, first of all, we have to identify those points, those pointers, and maybe if, to be frankly speaking, I'm talking very honestly, we all are aware what are the different facts and figures in pharmaceutical education at national perspective, and how we have to achieve, how we have to counter those pointers. But maybe due to one or the other reason, due to some policies, or there could be n number enormous points that could be considered while we are talking about all these pointers. But as an individual, forgot about government of India, forgot about higher education, UGC, AICT, PCI, and so. As an individual, what we are doing, whether we are really that much involved in the nation building, why we have given the responsibility to one or the other person to build the nation on your behalf. You are an integral part of this higher education, integral part of nation. So I believe this responsibility lies on each one of us shoulder, that we have to take the responsibility and we have to work hard. We have to cater for the advancement and development in the field of concern, rather than just expecting something or some miracle from Pharmacy Council of India or AICTE. They are doing their job very well. They have developed such a nice forum so that we will be able to discuss, we'll be able to cater. But nowhere they have mentioned that as an individual, they have confined you to showcase your best. And once we're talking about showcase your best, so I mean to say, we have to be in our best version every day. I'm not talking about a day or so or a month. We have to be very polished on each and every aspect. So that is one point that we are talking about. Then there are certain potentials that may understand for the growth of pharmacy profession, and that is enormous actually. As I have given before starting my talk, COVID-19 has given us a new horizon, and people, they are looking for now pharmaceutical education, research and pharma industry. Because yes, as a healthcare professionals, the doctors can prescribe the medicine, but who are going to develop? We, the person from pharma, education, research, industry, we are going to research, we are going to design, and we are going to develop. And by virtue of that, this is very rare actually. The 1 year, the 2020 March till as of now, January 2021, how many of Prime Minister of India have visited the facility center for any pharma industry? Or does the global media has covered pharma in that manner what it has been from past 10 months? I'm not saying that COVID has in any way fruitful to any one of us, but we should be very optimistic. And once we are talking about optimistic, so we have to be positive in every aspect, every odd situation. And what we are trying to do in the pandemic situation of COVID-19. So it has given a boom to the pharma education, and people are talking about. They're indulging in various activities, various updates of pharma education, research, industry perspective. And everyone's so happy when we are talking about that somebody or some industry has developed the vaccination. Or in India, two industry, they have got the licensing from DCGI for emergency use of these medicine for COVID-19. So it's a proud moment. It's a proud moment as a pharmacist to me and to all of us. And then we have to understand we need not to stop here. And this is not the stop. This is not the last thing that we have to achieve. Long way we have to go. And for that, we have to prepare. We have to prepare ourselves to upgrade our standards to achieve the international and the global expectations. Already we have done a lot in contributing at global level, but we cannot simply rely on the facts that we have done something and now we can simply sit idle. No, every day we have to grow and we have to flourish with the academic endeavors. So, if we talk about the current situation, what we are facing, or what exactly the situation it is, in few incidences, and once we are talking about any of the topic, any of the issue, any of the concern, that is a generalized concern. There are exceptions. There could be 5 or 10 or 20% exceptions, or the academic or the research university or the institution. Those are getting the qualified and the meritorious students. But majority of the institutes in India still they're struggling to get the qualified candidates to get admission in their course. I am not pitching any of the thing that the students those are getting entry into the course are not qualified, but we have to make a cross check. We have to create a barrier for their entry so that no odd situation should come in front of us. Talking about the entry level admissions for pharma courses. And still, to be frankly speaking, and once we are talking about there are few institutions, few percentage of the institution, those are even though imparted the latest technologies, tools for delivering the education and research, and they have changed the teaching and learning aspect, but still a lot has to be done. And that is what still at majority of the cases we have gone through that they are not that much focused and not specialized the way it has to be given for the learning. So that thing we need to understand, and each one of us can contribute in that manner. So it is not the fact and not the reason that only some of the statutory bodies or governing bodies or the council they have to take the responsibility. We as an individual, we as an academician, we as a future of pharma, we have to take the responsibility, and then we have to support our statutory bodies to work more efficiently, to work in more outcome-based manner. There are certain cases that Pharmacy Council of India has upgraded the curriculum, but still, lot many things need to be done. And as per my understanding, PCI is continuously looking for the advancement of the curricula that we do follow to be taught in the academic institution or the universities at Indian perspective. for the undergraduate or the postgraduate level, that too for the diploma as well. So that we need to get the latest amendment in the curricula, and by virtue of that, we will be able to understand and maybe a step closer to the industry, what they are looking from our side, what they are looking from the pharma academic institutions. Then this is one of the traditional problem that we are facing, lack of the industrial and the clinical exposure. I'm very sure there are very few institutions, they do have an industrial cell, or they have that kind of bonding with the industry people, or people from the industry, the experts from the industry, to visit their institute, to get involved in their academic endeavors, not for the purpose of the lectures or not for just giving the lectures to their institution. It's about their involvement with the students, and that involvement ultimately given a, uh faith, a trust to the students that yes, we are on the same path, we are working hard, and we are going to achieve something once we are able to done with our studies. So that confidence we have to inculcate in our students, and then only we'll be able to get the youngsters taking lead for nation building. Then still we are suffering and struggling a lot for the practical and the lab training that we are conducting in our in-house institutes. So that way, I'm very sure institutions, the management of the different institutions, they are working hard to grow and develop their laboratory facilities for the students, so that students will able to take care and abide with the current advancement. Then another point that always came in my mind, and I'm very sure it came to in your mind as well, whosoever is witnessing this lecture, the research outcome or the output that we are getting from Indian educational lab, it is very rare to lead to the commercialization or the revenue generation, because we don't have that mindset that we have to work in a manner that whatever we are doing that need to be outcome based, and we need to get some commercialization or the revenue out of it. As of now, majority we do have a mindset that we have to publish for the API purposes, for getting the API points. But my friends, if we are talking about the nation building, imparting higher education and research advancement, then we have to think beyond that. We have to think, if we have done something, then how I'm going to get maximum out of it. Whether the research that I have conducted in my own lab is going to get the patenting. If it is going for the patenting, so whether I'm going for the commercialization or not, the technology transfer. Because getting patent is one point. Yes, we are showing our caliber that we do have that kind of research understanding, so that we are able to develop and design the patents. But at the same time, do we are able to convert those patents into commercialization, or in a very simple manner, revenue generation? What revenue we are getting out of it? If none, then what is the use of getting those number of patents to be filed? It's maybe a part of our CV, that is for an individual growth and sake. What about the institution where you are working and they have extended their complete research laboratory facilities, funding for your research, and what we are doing for them? So it's two-way process. If we are doing something, then our partner should also grow. It should not the thing that only we are going as a academic and the research leaders. We have to consider that where we are working, we have to grow that alma mater as well. And then another point that always strike to my mind, that whether we are able to understand the market needs, and whether we are giving the trained manpower to the industry, and whether teaching is taking care, or that teaching endeavors has been considered on the top priorities over the research in the industry, in the universities. So because it's a synergy, it's a balance between the academic and the research endeavor. We cannot go simply to the research until and unless we don't have a strong basis of teaching and learning. And we cannot rely simply if we have a strong basis for the teaching and learning, we are not going for the research perspective. So we have to take research and teaching, academics, hand to hand, so that we should grow as a team. And now, how we can improve the situation. So this is very easy. It's not that much complicated. It's just a matter of fact that we have to take those chances. We have to take those steps on a routine manner. It is not a one day 2020 that someday we have hit six and century and then we got out at duck. We have to continuously, on a daily basis, sustainable growth we have to achieve. And if we want to grow, the steps should be sustainable. So what we have to do basically, we are talking about academic and research endeavors. So we have to showcase and we have to focus on our young champs, the students. Because if we are in academia, so this is our huge responsibility to build a nation. And how we are going to build a nation? Until and unless we are not producing the highly qualified, technically sound students. Those are the future of country. So I'm sure we have to create an environment to nourish our students and then to grow their internal skills and the qualities to grow. And we have to give a coherent environment to the students so that with their teachers, supervisors, mentors, they have a zone, they have a free zone to think, to explore, to develop their own concept, to discuss the opportunities, what they wanted to do. And then we are going to maximize the students' skill as well. Then one more important point that we have to inculcate as an academician to our students or in our students, the way professionals think, the way professionals do. So professionalism has to be inculcated, and that would not be a one day show. So on a continuous manner, we have to understand, we have to share our thoughts with them, we have to discuss in an open forum that how they are going to develop professionally and what is professionalism. And we have to give the chance to the students to showcase their talent, to showcase their own research and ideas on which they wanted to work, wanted to rely. And that would be definitely the innovative research is going on in that case, because they are having a, a brain that is not used that much. So innovative ideas would certainly we are going to get. And then a lot we have to do on their presentation skills and their personality growth as well. In my some other lectures as well, I mentioned whatever we are teaching to them, what knowledge they are inculcating, they have grasped from their mentors or the supervisors. But at the time, at the time of your examinations, at the time of their presentations, at the time of their interview, if they are not able to showcase in a elaborative manner, in a presentation manner, then who bothers about you got 9.8, 9.5 or 7.5? Industry people are not looking nowadays for the CGPA or SGPA of the students. They want the industry ready candidates. So if we are talking about the industry ready candidates, then first of all, the first and foremost important thing is their presentation skills. Because the way the person is going to speak, the people started judging that person. The knowledge you do have, that is one aspect. But you are going to get the chance to showcase that knowledge once you are able to adhere with the people. You are able to attract the audience from your presentation skills, the way you are going to talk, the way you are going to handle the podium and everything. Because when you have started talking about any specific topic, then only your knowledge would be there. But before that, everything is the perception. And we understand perception is of great relevancy for each one of us. So we have to work hard for the presentation skills, and that too for the development of our own personality at large. And then most important, another point is the that emphasis we have to give for the industrial and the practical exposure, and that too for the skill development. If we remember correctly, few years back, the government of India has initiated the skill development program. Majority of the institution, they have taken a lead to grow, develop, to get enroll for the skill development program. And the student, they got benefited because they're getting the opportunity to understand what industry is looking for, what the need gap in the academia industry. So that need we have to understand, and then the gap we have to bridge. So skill development is very important. And industry, yes, industry is looking for the candidate, those are skilled, those are having the information about the industry verticals, not just the bookish language. So we have to think beyond the books, textbooks, content. Practical approach has to be there. We have to grow them practically so that they'll be able to withstand with the industry need. And then the importance of the total quality management would be there, so that they should be aware about the these facts and figures about quality management. Then we have to understand the concept for the innovation of or the innovation ecosystem, where we are going to develop the concepts. We have to closely watch them so that they'll be able to grow. They have to understand, they have to witness, and then the continuous evaluation we have to do. It will, in my own university and with my own students, I always busy in saying that it's not an evaluation. We have to understand about the continuous evaluation, so that there would be someday that is not good for me or someone else, but might be someday I'm doing wonders. And maybe if something could be judged on the day when maybe I'm feeling low, or something could happen on a personal ground as well. I'm not feeling happy or something like that, or maybe I'll not be having in that mindset that I'm going to participate or indulge in the activity. So that doesn't mean that I'm not good. Maybe I'm the best, but that day was not good for me. And if unfortunately the evaluation came on that day, so might be I could have considered on the last step. So we should not judge our students or anyone on one day performance. It has to be continuous evaluation. And then we are going to share our feedback. And if anything would be there, we have to engage them. We have to engage them for the further growth in their career. So by virtue of that, we are making a true relationship with our own students. And the same thing will goes with the academic institution and the management as well. Management can also not just think for a one day performance of a faculty. They have to evaluate on a continuous manner. And might be that was one of the reason. On an annual basis, you have to submit your API, PBAS, performance based appraisal system. So maybe one day was not good, but maybe rest of the year you are doing wonders. So that should not be a negative for you. So might be that is also a case. And then we have to nurture, and then we have to we take any decisive sort of thing, or we have to decide for any sort of activity that what we are going to do, what we are going to develop. So these are certain pointers that we have to take care. Then talking about some of the innovation ecosystem. As per my understanding, I have given for the three notes for the development of the innovation system that may create the economic value from the academic and the research perspective. So first of all, we have to understand, or we have to inspire, or we have to invest. And who are going to inspire or invest? The companies. an entity, rather than we can consider it as a company with a vision and mandate to inspire and invest in individuals and the institution. So if this thing would happen, definitely we are going to motivate ourselves, our academic institutions as well, to grow. So this may one of the responsibility of the industry, because if industry is looking for something, then they have to dedicate and devote their time, resources to the development, for the growth and development of the academic and the research institutions. And maybe in the note 2 we can consider the invent and the innovate. So if we're talking about invent or innovate, so definitely the institutes, the research institutes, organization, they are going to invent, they are going to innovate. What we came across for Serum Institute of India, Bharat Biotech, industry has supported, researchers has contributed, and then we are able to see the vaccine. So academic and the research institutes, they have to work to carry out the high quality scientific research and the technology development. So by virtue of that, we will be able to grow, develop something. And then once we are going to motivate ourselves, we are going to get the funding for the research. Then in the second phase, we are going to research. We are going to develop something. We are going to innovate something. Then the third node will come, and that would be the incubate or to market. So what we are going to see in this, basically a company would take a lead in that case as well to convert that lab research or the research institute idea that they have developed, to convert into the product, into the reality, and then they can grow and develop, like for the growth of the social well-being, economic and the social value. So these three nodes, or three nodes of the innovation or the ecosystem, would be of great importance. And that's what we mentioned. We have to bridge a gap between academia and industry. Then only we are going to grow, develop, and sustain. Now, talking about some of the role and responsibilities of the academic institution or the universities for creating a innovation system, ecosystem. Institution or the universities, they need to focus on the great challenges that they do have in their research or academic endeavors. And then we have to play a strong role, or rather I can say university need to have a strong role, and their role is very crucial. They're crucial in terms of developing the faculty members, researcher, the facilities, growing the students, the complete ecosystem, and then involving the academic and the research institution for imparting the research to the global level, to the industrial level. So they have to have a knowledge triangle that we basically use as a synergy between the research, education, and innovation. So that triangle need to be faced, and that triangle need to be understood by the universities, and they have to play a tremendous role in growing and developing this point. And then the helix cooperation, university, industry, and the cities, so that we have to develop. Then only we are going to achieve a tremendous growth at national perspective, and then the global perspective at large. So these are the different pointers that we have to understand, we have to take care, and then we have to focus on the process development. We have to invest on the resources. Then only we are going to achieve these pointers. So university or the institutions, they have to focus on the people around them and the process development. It will not be a show that if you have done a tremendous lab, you have developed a great lab, but you don't have a great scientist, great hands to work, how you are going to make use of those labs. And then if a great scientist would be there, innovator is there, a meticulous person is there who is willing to work, then they can develop in one or the other way. So that way we have to invest on the people and the process development as well. Then only we are going to succeed in our endeavors for achieving the highest level of education research. Then there are some international players as well. Those are indulging in one or the other activities. Those are responsible for various activities like IEA, the International Association, right? So for this International Association for Evaluation of Educational Achievement, this is the full form. So it is basically an independent international cooperative national research institutes and acting as a governmental research agencies as well. And what they are doing, they have certain aims and objective for them so that they'll be able to achieve the thought processes, vision and mission by virtue of that forum has been created. So IEA aims to basically provide the international benchmarks. So they basically going to assist the policymakers what in terms of identifying the comparative strength and weaknesses of their educational system. So as a thumb rule, it's not just for the industry perspective only, it is for the academic endeavors as well, that we have to do the SWOT analysis. What is our strength? What is about weaknesses? What are the different opportunities lying in front of us to take it forward? And what are the threats? So once we are critically assuming this SWOT analysis, I'm very sure we will be able to showcase something for the growth of each one of us. And by virtue of that, we are going to achieve the vision and mission. And that mission and vision should not be just be taken up from a big university or a university or the institution. Why not? As an individual, we should have a highest level of the standards for our own, and we need to grow on a daily basis, performing our level best to achieve those vision and mission. So we have to have our high level. Then only we are going to succeed in life. And then they also aims to provide the high quality data for understanding the policymakers to understand the key schools, non-school based factor that basically influences the teaching and learning. There would be different other perspective. It's not just the academic and research endeavors that we have to take care, we have to cater. We have to focus. We have to focus on certain other aspects. Those are related or those factors that may involve and influence the activities of teaching and learning. Maybe institutions are not giving that much of importance to their faculty members. They're not taking care for their monetary benefits. Some other privileges are not being offered by the institutions. What has been expected by the people around them, the team, the resources. So it has a balance between both the activities. So by virtue of that, I'm sure we will be able to succeed in the endeavors. And then one important point that IEA aims to develop and improve the educational system capacity to basically engage in national strategies for building the national or nation strategies for monitoring and improvement of the higher education and research. So by virtue of that, that system has to be maintained. And as of now, we don't have that kind of system that would be working continuously and rigorously for the educational monitoring purposes or for the improvement as well. We don't have that kind of chain. So that chain need to be developed so that we will be able to understand the threats, because it's not simply that we are not getting something. Maybe there could be one or the other reason. So if you want to understand those facts, I'm sure you have to speak with your team the way we are doing. If there is no as such outcome we are able to get, so we have to speak. What was the issue? If a person is doing wonders in the past few years and due to one or the other reason, the person is not able to deliver. So there could be some reasons. And then we have to understand, and some concrete solution need to be showcased, need to be developed. Then only we are going to achieve the vision and mission of any organization. And then IEA is also contributing for the development of the worldwide community for the researchers in academic and educational evaluation purposes. So this is something that the international players are doing, and they are focusing and delivering their level best for the advancement and maintenance of the education. And then if we talk about the quality assurance in the pharma education, long back, roughly 13 years back, the Federation, International Federation, Pharmaceutical Federation, FIP, in collaboration with World Health Organization and UNESCO, formed this task force for the pharmacy education. Because at that time only they have understood and realized the fact that there has to be some synergy, some resources has to be formed so that they'll be able to look after what to be done, what are the need-based gap, and how we are going to fill those gaps. And this task force is basically coordinating body for the organization, agencies, or the institution and the individuals to understand, to share their goals for catalyzing the action to develop the pharmacy education. So if we are giving the space to them to showcase their talent, to share their innovative ideas, then only we are going to flourish. Because we have to have a zeal to grow, zeal to develop. And if we have that kind of zeal, we should be open for the discussion. We should be open to get the understanding from each one of us, to listen each one of us, to understand their viewpoint, their perspective, at last their per se. Because each one of us is unique in one or the other way. And if we are having that kind of uniqueness, there is no chance that we are not going to grow. But whatever we are sharing, whatever the thoughts we are portraying, we are not able to execute them. It always looks very fancy to give the lectures over the same. To hear those lectures, those so and so fancy talks in the focus, this FGDs or different other association activities, conference, seminars. But what is the execution of the same? Maybe a one lecture is of so fascinating, so moral boosting. But what is the outcome after that 1 hour lecture? If we should not able to motivate ourselves, then nobody is going to motivate you. We have to self motivate. Maybe as a faculty, as a mentor, as a director, I can motivate 1 day, 2 day, maybe continuously. That is my responsibility. But what is your responsibility? You have to think beyond your comfort zone. That is the main challenge, that we don't want to cross that barrier, the comfort zone. We are happy with the way we are doing. We don't want to take the challenges. We don't want to take the risk in our career. And that is what the issue happened, that somebody is saying that I'm not able to grow, I'm not able to flourish what my colleagues are doing. We are just seeing one part, but we are not focusing what kind of efforts they have done, what sort of penetration they have, what is the commitment they have given for their organization, for their own career building. If we want to remain in confined zone, in our own fancy zone, comfort zone, then nobody is going to give you that opportunity to grow. Why anybody is going to give you the opportunity until unless you don't want to grow? So first of all, you have a commitment, you have a better commitment that you want to grow. Then only others would be able to share their thought processes. They'll be with you to grow yourself. So it's not a one-day show. It has to be a continuous test match that you have to grow. So this purpose of this task force is to oversee the implementation of the pharma education, that plan that they have developed for 2008 to 10. So this is the responsibility, the opportunity they have taken. Like they have developed the quality assurance, academic and the institutional capacity, and the competency and the vision for pharmacy education. So by virtue of this, the task force that has these domains, the action to be taken care, the action plan they have dedicated, and then they started working. So if we want to grow, definitely we have to have certain action plan. And then the execution is must to achieve those missions. Then total quality management, TQM, the concept and the application lying with pharmacy as well. So the total quality management, basically it's a philosophy for perfection and continuous improvement in the services that has been offered to someone or someone's own performance. So that we are usually using these words in the academic or the educational research or the academic activities as well once we are talking about with the students. What is TQM? Why it is important? But why not? This TQM, that total quality management application, should be indulged for the pharma education. And then I'm very sure if we are going to implement this 100%, we are going to improve the effectiveness, the outreach, the outcome of any of the organization. It's not just confined for the one university, institute, or the colleges. We are talking about the global perspective. So if we are able to achieve this thing, I'm very sure. And we have to involve each one of us at every level. Because if we want to grow, we cannot grow superficially. We have to grow taking one step and another step. Step by step, we have to grow. So we have to take the involvement of each one of us to involve in the activities. And then we have to give a chance to work together for achieving a vision, mission, what we have witnessed the day when we started that journey. So by virtue of that, it's very easy. It seems very easy. But to be frankly speaking, it's not that much easy. Talking over one point is something different. And actually implementing those pointers are very difficult. That is why every time we mention that planning is one part, we could be a great planner, but whether we are the great executor as well. So we need to take a balance between these two, the planning part and the execution part. Then only we are going to grow and flourish. And then we have to have a harmonized manner. By virtue of that, we are going to achieve the vision and going to improve the quality of the service that has been provided to the students. Because see, the way we are giving the education, or the way we are going to give the teaching and learning to our students, the same thing we are going to get as a reputation of the institute or the university. The best possible practices, if we are going to implement in our academic and research endeavors, I'm sure we are going to get a fruitful results. Those students are going to indulge into the industry and they are the future. They'll be the face in the industry for your university. If we are developing a great students in MIT, then definitely if they are going at any of the industry, any of the country, they'll be a part and parcel of the MIT. And they always consider their alma mater and trying to give back in their best possible capacity. So that basis, that emotional touch, that feeling we have to grow and develop. It's not just a student teacher relationship that a student has taken admission and after completion of 2 year, 4 year, or 6 year continuously for master's courses, they got the degree. We have to have a understanding between faculty and the students and the management, because everyone is important in their own capacity. And then only we are going to understand the quality management in the academic or the research endeavors. So this is something that need to be taken care. Now, there could be different tools that may have the quality education, or by virtue of that, we will be able to do this thing, right? So what could be these tools, or how we have to grow and use the powerful tools like seminar and presentation, or giving the seminars or the presentation to the students to motivate them, to grow them. And these are considered as one of the powerful tool for the quality educations. And these seminars should not be just on the routine topics. The topic should be of great importance, and that should be with the relevant current happenings. There could be two advantages. First, we are going to develop their search skills, literature search skills, and then they will keep themselves updated with the current happenings. So, in case they are going for any of the discussion, any of the topic discussion, panel discussion, anywhere, they will keep updated themselves. And then what I propose, this is what we are doing in our institute and university as well, that seminars should be mandatory for the students. And then it should not just simply that they are taken contents, copy and paste, and you have to grow. You have to let them understand how to design a presentation, how to search for the content. Then only I'm sure we will be able to get benefited out of it. Otherwise, it would be just in control C, control V, copy and paste. So that way we are going to, because see, whatever we are going to share, it has to have certain outcomes. It should not be just for the time pass purposes that we have given certain seminar presentation to the students and they have also taken very casually, they have presented something and then vomit out at the time of the presentation. Each and every word that has been written in the presentation, they need to understand why it has been written. What is the motive of writing that word in the presentation? If this word would not be there, what difference it will make? So that kind of critical assumptions we have to create. So seminars should be made compulsory for the graduate students as well, so that they should grow. And what benefits we are going to get out of it? We all understood that there should be some benefits. So ultimately, how it is going to contribute? It is going to contribute to improve the understanding of the subject or the subject concern for which they have done the presentation. The attitude, searching attitudes of the students are developed. We are going to inculcate that kind of understanding with the students, that yes, how to search, from where to search. If we have given some topic and we are not going to tell them that what is the importance of JCR indexing, journal citation reports, or the impact factor. There are journals, those are claiming impact factor of 5, 10, 20, up to 50 as well. From where they have taken, nobody knows, God knows. They are claiming index with that much of indexing or just that much. But what is the authentic global acceptance? That is, initially it was Thomson and Rutan, now Clarivate, which is responsible for giving the impact factor, and that the journal should be indexed in the JCR reports every year in the month of June. They are publishing the last year's findings in the journal citation reports. So that impact factor we have to understand. I'm sorry to say, but still there are fewer faculty colleagues. They are still find it difficult to understand those which journal are actually the research endeavor journals or research oriented journal having a good citation impact and the indexing. Simply we are just relying on Scopus, UGC indexing, that's all. Because this is the minimum criteria that we have to fill at the time when we have to submit our thesis. So anyway, the Scopus indexing would be fine, or the journals, those are indexed in UGC. Why not we are considering the PubMed indexing as one of the most cited indexing agencies? Why not we are considering the JCR reports or SCI or ESCI? So these are the tools that first of all we have to understand as a mentors, as a faculty. First we are aware, then only we are going to inculcate these to our youngsters. If we are not very sure about the things, how we are going to develop our own bodies? So I'm very sure we have to first focus ourselves, and there is nothing that is called as a feeling of feeling low, shame, or something like that. If we don't know anything, we have to work hard, that's all. Nobody is knowing each and everything. At any given age, we have to keep on learning newer things. If we stop learning, we are ultimately confining our growth. We should not consider ourselves as survey serva. We have to improve on a daily basis. We have to learn from either a person is junior to us, senior to you, equivalent to you. But those pointers which I have just spoken about looks very good in terms of the lectures only, purposes only. How many of us are actually implementing? We every time wanted to have a grudge between our colleagues. We don't want to be happy with the growth of others. What they have done wrong with you, if they have grown, They have grown in their own manner. They have dedicated their time, their resources, their efforts, the way they are working. If you have not done, then you don't have any right to say any bad word to them. But as a human being, we have the more inclined towards the bad things. If somebody is not doing good, we try to do, okay, fine, that person is also not doing, I'll also not do. But why not? We want it to be self-motivator. If someone is doing wonders, we need to follow. We need to do our level best. So that thing we have to develop as an individual. Rather talking about pharma, education, research, or science and technology, as an individual human being, we have to have these feelings. Forgot about pharma, education, and research. That would be a long way forward story. So these things we have to inculcate as an individual. And then talking about back to work, the tools in quality education, the benefits. Ultimately, this is going to improve their presentation skills, their listening and reading skills, and then they are going to grow. They'll be growing, inculcating some of the professionalism by virtue of this. We have to ask them, once you're going for the presentation, your attire should be professional. It should not be simply you're coming in a t-shirt and a haphazard sort of thing. The attire should be very nice. It should reflect your presentation, that yes, you have done something and you came to showcase your search or your presentation, what you have done in the entire due course of time. So these things we have to do, these things we have to develop. And then, as we used to mention these points to our childs as well, our children, then sharing is caring. So if we are going to share, ultimately it reflects that we care for that person. We have a caring attitude. I used to share this word with my daughter. She's 4.5 years old, that sharing is caring. So that way she inculcate, okay, sharing is caring, so everything we have to share. And that would ultimately given to the students as well. For us, they are kids. If they're kids, so why not we'll treat them as our own kid? But we don't have that kind of temperament actually. Majority might be do have, but I'm talking in a general perspective. So there is nothing specific to any particular person, individual, or any institution at large. That is a general perspective that I thought about. Then quickly I'll take, because yes, already it is, we are approaching to the timeline. So we have to basically incorporate the case studies so that they will be able to understand the real life experiences, and they have to understand the real life experiences in reference to the recent context as well. And then ultimately, by virtue of creating the case studies or case reports and then simulation labs, they ultimately understand the real life issues, and then understanding those practicals into the real scenario. So by virtue of that, it would be easy for them to understand the real problem and how we are going to take the corrective actions for the same. If they are planning for any pharma industry visit, or they wanted to go for industry, so they have to have a understanding about how industry works. Otherwise, they will fail to be at their expectation, to meet their expectation of the industry people, because industry is working differently as we are doing in academia. So that information, that realistic training has to be given to the students to develop their own skills in a better way. Then transformation of education, we have seen the plan, then teach, and then test. I'm not going to in detail, but just a superficial point we are going to cover. So now it has been like plan, teach, then check, then revise, teach, and then test. And now what we are understanding, we have to plan, we have to teach, we have to discuss, we have to put it into the form of the seminars, we have to evaluate them. And if anything would be there, we have to rediscuss. Because it's not just simply the evaluation. We have to understand where they have made the mistake and how they are going to correct those mistakes. So that temperament we do have. And that is the paradigm shift that we are talking about. Transformation of education in a different perspective, starting from 1932, way back in Banaras Hindu University. It is still one of the most precious prestigious institution, not only India, across the globe, from where we started learning about pharmacy education research, and most respected Professor M.L. Sharaf, the father of pharmacy. So these are the transformation we have to talk about, we have to inculcate, we have to discuss. Now, at the last, how I'm going to conclude. Training programs can be introduced into the curricula. So the skill development program, and it should be made mandatory for every student to attend those training programs on the basis of their understanding, on the basis of their interest. It should not be the forceful one. It is a voluntary act that we have to take. And I urge to the industry colleagues that they should come forward and align with the course content, with the industrial needs, as a part of the industry academic collaboration for developing and the training modules. And by virtue of that, the revival of the pharmacy education in India is basically the need of the hour. And basically, we have to develop a concrete master plan with an international perspective. And we have to immediately implement this. This would consider as one of the solution, immediate solution for the expanding a research. Talking about the society where I given a responsibility to lead as National Secretary, Society of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, SPER, we are also committed to work closely with the academic institution, with the industry, to grow our own profession, to make a difference, to mark a difference at the global perspective. Publishing a high quality journal from the very first volume, first issue, it has been indexed in PubMed, it is indexed in Web of Science, the ESCI, and then we are committed to develop certain training programs for the faculties along with the students to understand what is the need of the hour, how industry is working, what is the expectation of the industry from the academic institution, and what they are looking for the students, those are enrolling for getting a job in the industry. So at SPER, we are also committed to develop that kind of synergy. We are at a verge of launching the academic industry linkage programs, training modules for the academic and the research perspective, then too with the industry perspective, so that we can make use of these activities and the programs. So with these words, one more time, I would like to thank management of Lloyd Institution for giving me an opportunity to share my some thoughts with you people. And those are my personal thoughts. So there is nothing personal to any one of us. I appreciate the efforts that has been made by Government of India, Higher Education, Pharmacy Council of India, AICTE, UGC, and the state universities. So by these words, I would like to one more time thank you, each one of you, for your patience listening to be a part of this event. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. In fact, I also completely, I guess maybe everyone completely agrees with your suggestions that yes, training programs, seminars, all should be mandated, because this can only inculcate a professional attitude in our students, which is actually the need of the hour. We have a certain question, sir, in the chat box. If you kindly allow, I can just read them out for you.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, sir, one question is from Mr. Ghosh. He wants to know how can we do so many portfolios like academic work, administrative work, research work, everything in just this 24-hour limit?
See, 24-hour limit is given for each one of us. That is the biggest challenge, that we have to inculcate each and everything with a timeline, that how we have to grow. 24 hours is for you, for me, for each one of us.
Absolutely.
But yes, we have to dedicate that. Yes, we cannot see. Giving a lecture is one point, but I am very transparent in all these factors, that if we are talking about to be famous, we have to work hard.
Yeah,
Maybe this question has just motivated me that at the very initial stage of my career, I have worked for 18 hours in a day. When I was so young that at the age of 26, I have given the responsibility to lead a society, SPER, as National Secretary. And I was the youngest ever board member for Pandit B.D. Sharma University of Health Sciences, Rohtak, when I was officiating principal in Haryana at that time. So that journal is there. So that way you have to decide your own timeline, and then you have to achieve as per the priorities.
Very rightly said, sir. Sir, there's a question from Miss Vidhu Saxena. She wants to know, can you give your views regarding the training courses that are being provided by LSSDC?
These basically, those courses, as far as my understanding, those are basically as of now related to the sales, marketing, these sort of courses as of now LSDCC is providing. So what we have done, actually the engagement of the BPharm fourth year students we have done as a mandatory, so that subject, first of all we have to certify our institute and train the trainer. First of all we have to get the training, and then those train the trainer program would be there, and training aspect would be given, and the content would be delivered in that manner. And that content is not just the similar content, that is also inclined with the industry expectation, what they are looking from the academic institutes.
Right. Sir, Vivek sir wants to know, what is the easy way out to collaborate with industries?
The innovative ideas.
Exactly. Yes. I think no more questions for now. Thank you so much, sir. I'll just be sharing my screen now.
Yeah.
So once again, thank you so much, sir. It was really a very informative session. And yes, as I said, in fact, you said that yes, research and academics should go hand in hand. We absolutely agree with it. And inculcating professionalism, skill development, research attitude, presentation skills in students to make them job ready basically is the need of the hour. So thank you once again, and kindly accept this small token of gratitude from our side.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, thank you, sir. Delegates, let's proceed to the most important activity of the day, that is the assessment exam and feedback form filling. So, for this, I would like to mention a few important points. I would like you to kindly note them if you want to. First, the first is that we'll be sending you a Google link for the exam. So, in that exam link, you will be asked your registration number. So kindly get back to your mail, and there you can find your registration number. Otherwise, for your convenience, we will also be sending you a PDF file where the registration number of the delegate will be mentioned. Then you're requested to fill up all the details in the Google form and start the exam. There are in total 50 questions. I repeat, there are 50 questions, 50, 2 marks each. That is a total of 100 marks. The duration will be for 50 minutes. I'll just stop sharing my screen. The total duration will be 50 minutes. You have to submit your exam before the 50-minute limit. Then you please note that only those delegates will be getting the certificates who score above 60%, 60%. So as in when you complete the exam, you have to click on the second link, which will be the feedback form. So the certification will be applicable only when you achieve above 60% marks and fill the feedback form. One more thing, you are not supposed to leave this link now. We will remain online so that if you have any query during the exam, you are most welcome to ask. So all the best, and I hope it is clear to everybody. Anybody wants to ask something? Fine. So we are sending you the link. So you may please start. The link has already come in the WhatsApp group along with your registration details also. So you can just get back to that and note down your registration number and all and start the exam. All the best to everybody. Moving ahead, I would now request our delegates to share their experience and feedback of this FTP. So starting with the first delegate, Mr. Deba Prasad Ghosh from Kite School of Pharmacy. I would request Preeti to kindly unmute Dr. Deba Prasad.
To the organizer, thank you for hosting such a wonderful program, because I have attended lots of FDPs, ma'am, but the first time I have seen such a but subject focus FDP actually. because we have learned from this particular how to handle this online softwares, how the plagiarism, how to put proper referencing, and also the subject knowledge, teaching pedagogies. Okay, everything. It was a very learned program, very good program, excellent program, and we have learned many things from it. And I am hopeful that in future also that all you have, it is that what we faculties learn, that we are teaching to the students. It is said that the learning never ends. At the time of your death also you will learn how to die. So what we'll learn more, then we'll teach more. And for this I really want to thank all the organizing committee members, the this chairperson madam, and all this sorry, vice president madam, and all the organizer. My heartfelt thanks for organizing such an excellent program. And in future also, if the Lloyd Group organizes a much more such type of programs, I will also wish to participate. And I also want to thank our honorable principal sir, Dr. K Nagarajan, for letting me attend such a wonderful program. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really great to listen. I would now request our next delegate, Dr. Sunil Javla from Geeta Institute of Pharmacy, Patna. So, if Dr. Sunil, yeah, we can. Dr. Sunil, I would request you to put your video on, sir. Yeah, we are not able to hear you properly. I guess there is some bandwidth issue from your side. Sir, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is that audible?
Yeah, kind of, not exactly, but okay, sir. Yes, we.
Is off from your side.
Sir, we are not able to hear you. I'm sorry. I guess there is some. Yes, yes, yes. Now it is better. Yes.
Okay. I'm thankful to the Lloyd Institute for providing such a platform and a great FDP, where I have learned a lot. And I'm thankful that today we are able to hear the eminent personality of pharmacy field, Dr. B. Suresh. I am thankful to the organizer and the whole team. They have made excellent effort in this FDP. We have learned a lot. On the first day, we have seen the presentation of Dr. Roof Khar and also by Dr. Madhukar. Oh, it's a great presentation and we have learned a lot from it. On day 2 and 3rd, we have learned a lot about getting research grants. How are the opportunities are there by Dr. Mona Simalti. And so many more speakers were there. Dr. B. Narasimhan, computer-aided drug design, plagiarism by Dr. Manish Ahuja. And on the last, Dr. Upendra Nagesh. So many things you have arranged. So my best wishes and thanks to the management. They have arranged a wonderful FDP for all the participants, and I hope it will be beneficial for all the pharma family.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you, sir. Our next delegate is Dr. Rahman from TAF University, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So, Dr. Rahman.
Okay, hello everyone. This is Dr. Muhammad Akhlaqur Rahman, Assistant Professor, College of Pharmacy, TAF University, Saudi Arabia. As an active participant of AICTE-sponsored faculty development program, personally, I would like to thank Lloyd management for conducting such a wonderful program for academicians, researchers, and research scholars. And obviously, a big thanks goes to AICTE to recognize Lloyd to make this program successful. Before registering myself, I felt that the schedule is very hectic and will be difficult for me to attend all the sessions. But a special thanks to our guest of honor, Professor Roop Kumar Khar, who fills quanta of energy with his experience and inspiring words by sharing his thoughts, discussing how to plan effective and interesting teaching strategy and transform your lectures into knowledge, skills, and make your students competent enough. No doubt the experience and time shared by guest of honor Dr. Madhukar Vaware was energizing and enthusiastic to enjoy 2 weeks program. Coming to the point of session, I would like to thank all the speakers for choosing hot topics like challenges in online practical classes, online exams, and their solutions, which was the need of the hour due to corona pandemic. I was keen to listen speakers' expertise in research and development like QBD, pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic screening of compounds, computer-aided drug design, patent searching, drafting and filing, as well as topics that can help the researcher to publish their work in the form of research publication. I get opportunity to listen all experts under same umbrella. Today is the last day of FDP, and the question is what we earn after spending 2 weeks of valuable time period. My answer is basket of skills. Hope you people will have almost same answer. I'd like to thank Sri Manohar Thairani, Professor Vandana, Dr. Lalit, and Dr. Richa for providing such a wonderful platform of learning. It will not be honesty without appreciating Dr. Shilpa for her dedication and effort in completing this journey. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much, everyone, for your active participation in these 15 days. And before parting, I would request our coordinator of the FDP, Dr. Chitra Gupta, to announce the star performer of the FDP, which has been evaluated on the basis of regularity, active participation, and score in the assessment exam. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shilpa. Dear delegates, I would like to begin by saying that the capacity to learn is a gift. The ability to learn is a skill, but willingness to learn is a choice. So all of you stand winners because all of you chose to learn during this FDP. But as per our norms, preset norms for this Star Performer Award, Mr. Debaprasad Ghosh, Assistant Professor from Kite School of Pharmacy, Kite Group of Institutions, has bagged this award for this FDP. So congratulations, Mr. Ghosh. You have been quite active in participation and as well as your score was quite good. So with that, I would like to proceed with a vote of thanks. The program will be incomplete without a formal vote of thanks. So firstly, I would like to thank AICTE for entrusting us and funding this FDP. I also like to take this opportunity to thank the management of Lloyd Group of Institutions, our President Sir, Mr. Manohar Thairani, and our Group Director, Dr. Vandana Arora Sethi, for supporting, guiding, and facilitating us with all methods and means to ensure the smooth conduct of the program. Thank you very much, sir and madam. I would also like to express my gratitude towards our honorable guests during the FDP, Professor B. Suresh at the valedictory, and Professor R.K. Kharsar and Dr. Madhukar from AICTE at the inaugural function for sparing their valuable time and encouraging the organizers as well as the participants. Next, I would like to thank all our eminent speakers from India and abroad for contributing to the success of this FDP through their valuable inputs, information, and experience sharing. Really, you people added substance to our FDP. I would also like to extend a big thanks to the members of the organizing committee, technical support team, and the social media for their untiring efforts in materializing the show. Without them, the event would not have been a success. A big thanks to all of you who supported behind the screens and on the screen. And yes, most importantly, I would like to thank all the faculty delegates who were the heart of this FDP. Thank you very much, all of you, for connecting and interacting. Really, we had a great time with you all these 2 weeks. Would look forward to hosting you physically at our campus once we are normalized. Hope all of you have been able to take something from this FDP, and we have been able to spark an interest in all of you. And now it is up to you people to light a fire with this spark. With that, I would like to end with a quote from Sir Winston Churchill. Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. So let the learning continue. Best wishes to all of you for a very bright future, and goodbye from all of us at Lloyd for this. Thank you very much, all of you.